the real reason your English isn't improving, and how to fix it. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably study English very often. You probably consume a lot of English media, and you even think in English sometimes. However, when you need to speak, of course, you hesitate, you pause, and you cannot articulate yourself with confidence and with conviction. The reason this is happening actually has nothing to do with learning more vocabulary words or learning grammar, especially if you are at the B2 level of English or around the intermediate levels of English. And unfortunately, this is a very common mistake among intermediate learners where they can understand English very well, but they just speak very broken English. Today, you're going to find out why this is happening and how to fix it. Now, first of all, keep in mind that the intermediate plateau is absolutely real, which just means people who are stuck at the intermediate level and really can't get to that next advanced level of English. But the intermediate plateau is very misunderstood by most English learners. Let me explain. Most intermediate learners think they need to immerse themselves in English more and they need to consume more English podcasts and English media and learn new words and learn new expressions to become a better speaker. But I'm telling you, this is actually very counterproductive to specifically do this. The problem is really just the gap or the delta between your passive abilities and your active abilities, which really comes down to observation versus application. And this brings me to my second point, which is you need to profoundly understand the differences between consuming and producing. This will be the difference between whether or not you will ever be able to speak fluently in English. Consuming comes down to observing, and producing comes down to applying. Consuming or observing specifically refers to things such as watching TV in English, watching English podcasts, anything that has to do with listening, reading, or watching. Producing or application comes down to physically speaking aloud, not speaking in your head, physically training your mouth to speak aloud, and writing, typing, and texting. This could be sending text messages in English, typing emails in English, or even physically writing on paper in English. You're going to remember around 20% of all of the things that you passively listen to or see, and you're going to remember around 80% or more of all the things that you physically do, that you physically apply, that you physically experience or tangibly experience. And not just English learners, but language learners in general always wonder, why can I not fluently speak my target language? Why is this happening? I consume so much English. I consume so much of whatever language I'm trying to learn. I spend hours on it. How am I not getting better at communicating? And the answer is so obvious. You cannot speak because you don't speak. You cannot speak English because you do not practice physically speaking English nearly enough to actually see results. And this is something that trips up a lot of English learners because you guys work really hard and you put in a lot of time and a lot of hours, but you don't work very smart because you're not actually exercising the most valuable skill of learning the English language, which is speaking. And this leads to the third point, which is why passively learning will keep you stuck forever. Now, if you are someone who passively learns a lot, or that's all you do, you just consume a ton of English media, but you never really use it, it's not completely your fault because formal educational institutions oftentimes do a very bad job of helping you apply your English skills in scenarios that you will actually encounter frequently in the real world. The problem with formal education and school is that it teaches you how to study in English and how to study the English language, but it doesn't really teach you how to use it in more nuanced ways. And it also does a horrible job of explaining the unwritten rules about the English language. If you haven't noticed already, Recognizing a word is not the same as being able to actually use it under pressure. So, for example, if I use the word indubitably, you might be able to understand what I mean when I say the word indubitably, or maybe you can guess what I mean when I use the word, but it's not the same as you actually being able to acquire the word and then use it in your own unique situations that you encounter in your particular life. To put it simply, your brain psychologically needs repetition of applying new words and applying your English skills, not passively consuming them. It needs repetitions of output. It does not need more repetitions of input if you already made it to the intermediate levels of English. This is precisely why you can understand English, but you cannot speak it. Because English is basically ubiquitous around the entire world, meaning it's used almost everywhere in the world, it's very easy to observe it, hear it, see it, and watch it on the internet. However, probably because it's a little bit uncomfortable at first to practice making sounds that you don't normally make in your native language, it's probably holding you back from really applying your skills and getting to that next level of speaking. When I say you need repetitions of applying your English and speaking out loud, it's the same thing as learning how to shoot a basketball for the first time, or learning how to kick a soccer ball for the first time, or learning how to play an instrument like the piano or the guitar for the very first time. At first, it will feel extremely unnatural and you will be uncoordinated. But then once you've done it 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, a million times, it's going to feel like second nature. You won't even think about it. You'll be able to do it with your eyes closed anywhere at any time spontaneously. And this leads to the fourth point, which is the activation shift that you need to make psychologically in your head. Again, the fix is not studying English more. The fix is applying what you already know or getting better at applying what you already know. If you're watching this video and if you can understand most, if not everything that I'm saying, you're probably at one of the intermediate levels of English. If you've heard me throughout this video use any new words that you have not heard before, you should take the word and then try applying it yourself. Try to formulate 5 different sentences using a new word that you learned in this video. For example, if you didn't know what the word ubiquitous meant, take that word and try to form 5 sentences randomly using the word ubiquitous. For example, iPhones are ubiquitous in the world because they're everywhere. Trees are ubiquitous in this region of the world where I live. This photo on the wall here is ubiquitous in art galleries. You can use ubiquitous in 5 different sentences and just try applying it yourself. The most important thing is that you're physically training your mouth to say it out loud and you're just thinking on the spot and speaking spontaneously as if you were having a conversation with a real person. You need more repetitions of applying your skills like this. You don't need more repetitions of just listening and consuming more English media if you want to speak. And this leads to the final point, which is daily methods for how you can actually practice this every single day easily without fail. Now, this does not need to be complicated at all. And this might surprise you, but just practicing your speaking skills and practicing your application skills for 10 or 15 minutes per day is going to get you way further than listening to hours of English podcasts or listening to hours of English media. Literally just 10 or 15 minutes every day. All you need to do is when you wake up in the morning or when you go to bed at night or when you're in the shower or when you have a moment when you're alone, just ask yourself an open-ended question and just answer it spontaneously as if you were having a conversation with a real person. This could literally be as simple as just asking yourself, how was my day today? Or how was my day yesterday? How did it make me feel? And then just express your thoughts. Just practice expressing them as best you can out loud by yourself, and just get repetitions of how you would formulate sentences and what you would say or what you would want to say when you're in real life with a real person. If you're somebody who does not do this exercise every day, then when you come into real conversations with native English speakers like myself, you're going to be hesitating. You're going to say, you're going to be reaching for words. You're going to be stumped and thinking and freezing. Versus if you do this drill every day, when you come into real conversations with native English speakers like myself, and I ask you, how your day's been going or how your week has been going, you're going to be able to answer it much more confidently because you've already practiced answering questions like these by yourself several times over. If you practice expressing your thoughts over and over and over again, just for 5, 10, or 15 minutes every single day, and you're just answering questions that you would probably be asked in real conversations, when you come into a real conversation, you're going to be very well prepared. And when you're very well prepared, you're going to naturally speak very confidently in English. That is how that works. So, the real reason that your English isn't improving is because you don't practice your application skills nearly enough or consistently enough to actually see results. And then the way to fix this is just by doing simple exercises like having conversations with yourself every day, or just simulating conversations with yourself every day for literally just 10 or 15 minutes per day. It doesn't have to be that long. If you can do that consistently every day, your English speaking skills and your English application skills will improve over time. I can guarantee it. Now, the methods I described in this video really apply to people who are at the intermediate level who can understand but can't speak English. But speaking is just one piece of the puzzle. There are many other skills, of course, in the English language that will actually go hand in hand in enhancing your English speaking skills. If you want to know what those other skills are and the fastest way to go from the intermediate levels of English up to the C1 advanced level of English, then I create a free training specifically for that. So if you'd like to check it out, I'll leave a link somewhere in the pinned comment or the description below. It's totally free and it should help you a lot with advancing your English to the next level. If you got any value out of this video, be sure to like the video. It helps us more than you know. And leave a comment down below telling me where you're from and what your native language is. I'm always curious to know. That's all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.